What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on BCA Cars TV. Today we are going to be talking about this Skoda Fabia behind me. Incredibly low mileage. It is done around 20-odd thousand miles on a 2002 car. That is not something which you see every day. So I thought, let me make a video on this car to show you what we're going to need to get done to get it ready for sale, because in terms of the bodywork, it's not that great. It's quite tatty, to be honest with you. So a lot of things I need to show you on this car, show you the interior, take for a drive to see how this car is still doing after 20 odd years. So without further ado, let's go on with the video. Let's show you that, and then stay tuned to the very end where we're going to talk about the nitty gritty and get into the numbers of how much this car has cost me and exactly how much it has cost to get it ready for sale. So we're going to get into that at the very end. So stay tuned for that, but let me show you the car now. So let's check out the exterior on this Fabia. So how are we looking down the driver's side? Well, the first thing you'll pick up on is on the bumper here. We've got a bit of a, you can potentially put a bit of touch-up paint on that, but that's probably one of the smallest issues in terms of the bodyworks. The rest of the driver's side, it's actually looking pretty good for the age. You would think complemented with the mileage, etc. That is looking pretty nice. Over on the rear bumper, what have we got? Another scuff down here. Again, nothing too drastic, to be honest, for something on this age of car. You'd expect to see little bits and bumps like that. Down over on this side as well, what have we got? Exactly the same, so same sort of thing as what we just pointed out over there. On the rear quarter, this is where things start to get a bit, let's say, different. Then down the rear quarter, if we continue down onto the door, we've got a deep scratch that sort of dents into the car. And also down on the lower side, we've got a bigger scuff over here, and it's starting to rust a little bit as well because that scratch has obviously gone through the paint. Goes down over there, so you get an idea of what things are looking like on that side of the car. Moving down over to the front, things aren't looking too bad until we get to the front wing. Now, I don't really know what's happened here. This is probably the most appalling paint job I've seen in my life. I'm thinking to just prep and rattle can that myself, because I'll be able to do a better job than whatever that looks like. On the camera, it probably doesn't even look too, actually no, tell a lie, that looks horrendous. What am I on about? That looks awful. Further down from here as well, onto the bumper, we've got another scuff. Well, call it a scuff, but it's a big one. That you could get these things smart repaired, but in reality, there's a lot of work on this car that needs doing in terms of the bodywork. Is it economical? Probably not. So I am going to talk about some of the things which I am going to get done on the bodywork, but we'll do that when we go for a drive. Let me show you the interior. So checking out the interior on first impressions, it is actually condition-wise looking pretty good. I don't even think it needs a major deep clean. We've got a little bit of discoloration on the driver's seat, but the passenger seat is looking a lot better. Carpets down here, they'll be super easy to clean because these are rubber mats. Underneath here, yeah, it's very, very clean. You know, like over there as well, that is looking nice. So things like that, very easy clean. Potentially don't even need to give this car a deep valet, just maybe a cheap in and out job on this one. Steering wheel wear, as you'd expect, not really anything going on there. It is only done 24,000 miles, so you'd expect things like that to be in good condition, especially down here, the center console with the gear stick, etc. Original radio, you can see it is looking in good condition. There are no wear to any of the buttons over there. Same thing around here as well. So all of these things are a really good sign to see on an old car like this. But let me show you the rears as well. Now the rears are looking very, very nice. They look like they've rarely been sat in at all. Even the rubber mats at the back, yes, they do need a good old clean, but compared to what they were looking like in the front, not too bad at all. Down over here, what have we got? So no idea what that is. Maybe some old, I don't know, piece of paper or tissue. But same thing over there, just needs a good old clean in and out. So I think we may be able to save a few quid when it comes to getting the car valeted. So that is a positive. Now the only bizarre thing to note is the headlining. You can see it has really badly started to sag. Now, just to give you some idea, I'll show you. If I just, yeah, you can see that is sagging quite a lot. So what I will probably do is you can buy these kits online where there's little pins that go into the headliner. So effectively what we'll have is a lot of circles on the roof which are the same color as the headlining. They get screwed in and they'll be able to hold all of that back into position. So that is something which I'll need to look to get done. But other than that, I think this interior is looking good. So I picked up this car last week from Thurley. So I've driven it about a good, I don't know, 80, 90 miles. And it's a really nice car to drive. You'd expect that from a car that's only done 24,000 miles. But in terms of, you know, just the suspension feel, the clutch, the steering, everything feels nice and tight. And I guess that's one of the best things about buying low mileage cars. You're eliminating a lot of risk in the sense of the car's been driven less. So there's less things to potentially go wrong. less chance of something going wrong as well. So it definitely does make things easier when you're buying an older car. But at the same time, I know, 22 years is a long time as well. Plenty of things can happen to a car. You can break or damage a car in 5 minutes if you really wanted to. So it still is a risk at the end of the day. So always just buy with caution. But like I say, my first impressions of this car and driving it was, I was very, very happy. Now, when I was bidding on this car, I was aware that there was a couple of things which I'm going to need to get done. Some of them I wasn't as aware of because of the photos, but things which I knew I'm going to need to get done on this car were getting it MOT'd and potentially some bodywork. I have had the car MOT'd already and it has passed, but there are a couple of advisories. Potentially I'll look to get those done at the point of sale, when it comes to negotiations, something I could throw into the deal. But looking at the previous MOTs, it has literally done a couple of 100 miles, every year. So the car has barely been driven. Sometimes that can be a bad thing. If the car has sat around, it's not always a good thing. Cars like to be driven, so a driven car is a good car, but equally the car may have still been driven regularly, just a couple of miles a week, which is still regular driving to some extent. So for me, things seem okay at the moment. Service history wise, so the car came with 15 services in the book. That's good enough on something of this age and value. When you take into consideration the mileage, 15 services is very, very good, but I'm going by the age as well because, mileage is one thing, but you still have to take into consideration age and servicing. So I was quite happy with 15 services in the book. The last service was literally done a couple 100 miles ago, so that's a bonus as well. Now, the only other thing which I really need to get done, to be honest, on this car is the bodywork. So with that in mind, I'm going to look to be selective and just do certain things. Now, things like the rear quarter, that deep scratch which I showed you earlier, I just can't justify, spending that money because it's an old car. Yes, the mileage is low, but just doesn't make sense to do it. It's still a roadworthy car, whether that scratch is there or not. However, the one thing which is really bugging me and I don't like is that front wing. It looks absolutely rubbish. Someone has really done a poor job on that. Now, I could give it to a local guy to get done, but painting on cars these days is expensive. It's not what it used to be back in the day where £100 a panel or £150 a panel. Those days are long gone. There probably is someone out there who still will do it, but for the quality of what you're going to get, you're just better off doing it yourself. So I'm going to look to get that wing done. I'll get the paint code, go to the supplier, get a few rattle cans and literally just mask up the car, rub it down, prime it, paint it, lacquer it. I know it's not going to be perfect, but it will be a lot better than what the car is now. That really is off-putting when I look at it. So that is the part of the bodywork which I'm going to definitely get done. Interior wise, I don't really need to do a lot, if I'm honest. I probably could get away with just doing an in and out job on this car, but like I said, the front seat has got a little bit of discoloration, so I probably will look to get the seats done. Only thing is, when I do one, I like to do all of them. So, once I get the car taken over to the valeters, I'll have a proper look over and decide what I'm going to do there. But it's nothing drastic. It's not a big deal. Very clean car overall inside. So again, really happy with that. And one other thing, which I nearly forgot, how can I forget? The headlining, the thing which all of you can probably pick up on the camera, where it's peeling down from over here and it's sagging down here. That is something which is going to need to be addressed. So you can pick up online one of these little kits. They're not expensive at all, about £5 or £10. Like I said earlier, you pin the headlining in and then you screw these little circle dots all across the headlining and it will hold it in place. Very common on older cars to see these sort of things. I've had them on many cars over the years. This one probably being the worst though. So not too concerned about that at all. Everything is fixable. So really and truly, overall, it is actually a good car when you think about it. It is a bit tatty, it has seen better days, but the main thing you got to think about is the mileage is fantastic. The service history is pretty damn good as well, and it's going to have 12 months MOT on there. So when you look at those three things on a car of this value, I think we'll still do very well on this car. Now, I'm not going to bother showing you, the full, reveal of the car once it's all ready, because interior wise, like I said, there's nothing to see, and the wing as well, it might not be done just yet. So if it gets done in time, I'll show you. If I haven't done it yet, I'll just let you guys know the cost of the paint, etc. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you guys know of all of the costs involved. So, getting it ready to the point of sale. So once it is at that point, we'll carry on with this video and I'll give you a full breakdown of the cost of this car, buying all those paints, getting the MOT, etc. All of those little things, along with how much can we sell this car for. So we're going to talk about those costs, talk about those margins, so you get an idea of the potential profit to be made on this car. So with that, guys, I'm going to head down to the paint shop to pick up a couple of cans of paint for this car, get everything ready, get everything prepped, and we're going to carry on with this video and talk about those figures. So stay tuned. Okay, so let's get into those figures and talk about how much this Skoda cost me and exactly how much it cost to get it ready for sale. The hammer price was £425, and as always, there's fees involved from BCA. The fees were £203, so that effectively meant the total cost of this car driving away from the auction was £628. Now, as we spoke about earlier, there was a couple of things which I had to get done. First of which was getting an MOT, so that was £40. When I dropped it to the valeters, it wasn't too bad, to be honest with you, and a lot of the stuff could actually just be picked up from a hoover, so it didn't need a deep clean. So just your typical in and out and just getting things like your dash wiped. So £20 to get that done. The headlining, so as I said, I was going to do that myself, so the labour was obviously just my time, but the actual parts needed were only £8.49. I got them from Amazon, really cheap, it does the job, so good way of saving a bit of money there. And then in terms of the bodywork, as we spoke about earlier, getting the wing done involved me buying a bit of paint and some prep involved for that as well, such as, you know, sandpaper, etc., and a few other things. So that cost me £43. Again, the labour is going to be just my time, so saving money again on that front. And then the last cost involved is advertising. So the car is yet to be advertised, but on average, for the price of the car, it's going to be about £22 for 2 weeks. So depending on how long it takes for the car to sell, that gives you an idea of, you know, the cost per 2 weeks. So in total, the car stands at £761.49. Now that is the price of the car, completely ready to retail, ready to drive away. So that gives you an idea of the total cost on that. Now in terms of what can I sell this car for, there isn't many of them on the market, so especially at that mileage, shall I say. So it's a bit tricky to put a valuation on it. So I'm going by similar cars I've sold, such as Volkswagen Polos with low mileage, not as low as this car obviously, but still very low mileage cars, and the prices they've sold at, and just general the demand I've had for those. So I'm looking to put this car up at £2,500. Just having a quick look online, there was a similar car but in mint condition closer to £4,000. Now I think that's overpriced in my opinion based on the age of the car. However, even though the bodywork on this car isn't the greatest, when you factor in the MOT, the service history and the mileage, I think £2,500 is a good price for this car, and I would expect to sell this car relatively quickly, but only time will tell. So now you've got an idea of what I paid for the car and an idea of potentially what I can sell this car for. So let's look at the margin. So if we take that off the 2.5 that I'm looking to sell this car for, that gives us a potential pre-tax profit of £1,738.51. Now that is really good margin to be making on a car of this value. Yes, it's a potential price. It doesn't mean I've made this profit just yet. Of course, there are things you have to take into consideration, but it still gives you an idea of the potential margin available in these types of cars. So hopefully you've had a bit of transparency on this video, getting to see the car in its raw form, things that needed to get done. And yeah, I know I haven't shown you the car in its final form, but guys, you've seen many of my videos, you know how it goes, you've seen it before and after on many of them, and in this case, as I said, I apologize, it's not ready just yet, but I still wanted to get this video out for you guys for Sunday 6 PM, so you get to see the important thing, which is the money talk and the margins available in this car. So on that note, guys, I really hope you've enjoyed today's video. Please don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'm going to see you on the next one. Take care, guys.